Is it running? Good morning. Okay, questions of the day for my wife to you guys to answer, not me. I've given this some thought over the night. Not a lot of thought because, like I said, I'm mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. But we're going to play number matching stuff today. So we're going to find out what type of block exactly that we got here, what the date on the block is, and the heads, we're going to do the same thing, date, and what they exactly are according to the numbers. But I do know the heads are the heads that had like a 173 exhaust valve in them originally. So I tend to think they're somewhere in the 1967 or somewhere back in there. But they got LS6 valves in them right now. If I have to buy a crankshaft for this engine and buy new rods, which I did intend to buy new rods, and I probably would take out the pistons that are in there because, like I told everybody before, they're open chamber pistons and a closed chamber head. They've been filed to fit the cylinder head tightly, and I do mean tightly. Leading me to believe, but I haven't pulled the heads off yet, but having 20 thousandths of up and down motion on the crankshaft would be enough for the pistons to hit the cylinders, maybe.
Give me 1 minute.
I said that wrong. For the pistons to actually make contact with my valves. I don't remember the numbers. It's been way too many years. But I did use Play-Doh to check my valve clearance. That's the type of tightness we're talking about. And it's, all I can tell you, it was very close. Not designed for 20 thousandths of free play in the crankshaft. Or I don't even think I could take 3 thousandths to 4 thousandths of clearance in the rod bearing. Like losing a rod bearing, I would assume, and this is an assumption, not a stated fact, that the valves would hit the pistons. So I'm looking at $2,000 worth of parts to make me feel right about a 396. Now this is things that I clearly don't know. Well, I know something about it, but I don't know, not knowledgeable. I got thinking, there was a guy in Tampa, there was a man in St. Augustine. He was selling a 454 4-bolt main, Gen 5. I believe the guy in Tampa is selling a Gen 5, I think, for $850. He claims it to be a 496, I believe, with 502 heads. I'm not much interested in the heads. Now, my personal opinion here, due to the dates that are on my cylinder heads, the dates that's going to be on this block behind me, I've seen them run as high as $4,000 and more for just the block. And then you still, that's a block that has to be machined. The heads, I've seen them vary. Some people think they're pure gold. But just say the basic price about $2,000 is what they're worth to a collector. So I'm thinking behind me sits about $6,000 worth of stuff. Now, I don't know what I can build out of a 454 block, but I'm sure somebody that's listening does know. What's the maximum cubic inch with a stroker crank, stroker rods, which block do I need? Do I have to have a truck block that's a quarter inch, whatever the hell it is, a quarter inch or whatever? I know it's just a taller block. You let me know what we can build and what we need to know to build a 454 with the most cubic inch we can build, because I think I'll have the same money, or almost the same. No, I'm going to have to rephrase that. I'd be putting $2,000 to $1,500 into this engine to fix a small cubic inch engine, and I could put $6,000 into a 454 block that I might be able to acquire the block for free because a friend has a motorhome, which I think the motorhome engines are the ones that have the taller block in them too, and we can build what I'd really like to have, a bigger cubic, the most cubic inch I can get. I don't think you can build a 672 because I think that's a completely aftermarket block. But you guys can enlighten us. You can enlighten us today as we take it apart. Month and date of the heads, month and date, or what year they came off of. But we'll see what the net worth is and see if we can sell it. Now the other option is, a lot of professional mechanics are going to think this is shady. This motor's got less than 3 miles on it, but you can't let a crankshaft rattle around like that. So I'm more scared the crankshaft is more out around than the scratches that you see. Because the other way of fixing it for me would be, if we go to the cheap way, we replace the rods and hope the rods take up the extra play that we got on the back 2 rods, which was, I don't know, Chris was in, we'll just say it was 15,000. And I told my brother-in-law, which, like I say, he's a professional Chevy mechanic, he said he didn't look at it yet, but he said it's not really something to worry about. I tend to think that the factory set up tolerances for a reason. However, but let's just say, for instance, we don't worry about it. We just replace the rods, hope it takes up some of the free play. Hell, maybe you can get a rod company to make a rod when they're machining it, an extra 6,000s or 4,000s to take up the extra gap I got. We'll know later, but what the actual numbers are. But not the cheap way. I take the crankshaft out, have it micro polished. Tell them to bring it to the specs of whatever the maximum I can stand on the main bearings for looseness and still be within spec. That will take out some of the scratch, not all of the scratch. The good note is the scratch is mainly right down the center of the crankshaft. That's the deepest, which, whatever it is. The bearings are grooved on half the thing anyway. I think it'll fly just fine, but that ain't the way to really build an engine. But that would be $100 worth of bearings, probably $100 worth of polishing the crank, $100 to have the block re-cleaned and flushed out. Got to put in some brass freeze plugs because I couldn't get that freeze plug in that rotted from underneath the car. Just too much of an angle. Shift headers were in the way without removing the headers. Not that I'm going to remove the engine anyway, so let's just see what we got. So we can go cheap or we can go big. As long as my parts can be sold for enough money to build me a motor that isn't costing me anything, and I think that's the way to go. You guys can chat amongst you and my wife, and I will start to dismantle this thing, and one way or the other, it's all got to be cleaned, and whichever way we go, whatever we decide, we'll see. So that's my opinion. So I'm going to finish this water, then I'm going to get up, and then I'm going to take that harmonic balancer off of there, spin it over, pull the heads up out of there. But You guys can start researching what a 69 to 1970 396 block is worth. When I was a young man, for some reason, I believe from the books I read that it is a Corvette, Chevelle, or El Camino engine, what it stated. Whether or not my information was correct or not, I'm not sure. What I am sure, it's high performance passenger. It has, by the oil filter, you have the extra hole for you can have cooling lines for an external oil cooler. But we shall see. And like I said, I don't remember what year my heads were, but I do know that they had small exhaust valves, which led me to believe they were earlier style heads, which I modified them to, like I said, I actually put LS6 valves from my friend Chevelle into my heads, because his motor was a freshly rebuilt motor. He put in 225s and 194 exhaust valves, so it's more like the big super duper aluminum heads you could find. And it wasn't clear. I just quickly scanned this morning. They show two heads in the picture, of course. Bromix wanted $1,200 for the head. I think that's how you say it, Bromix. I could be pronouncing it wrong. Aluminum. I forget what the other one is. APR or AF something or other, aluminum head. I forget what the other company name was, but they thought they had gold though. I think they wanted $2,500 for one head. I did watch a little video last night before I fell asleep, and the guy on the dyno was showing the factory heads ported against he had the little oval port heads, and they had, I guess they call them peanut heads, and then they got the oval ports, which are a little bit bigger, and he was bolting on rectangular heads. But when he bolted on the aluminum heads they looked like they were going to be the high-end, high dollar. I would expect to spend about $5,000 for the heads. There was a big horsepower difference. The torque pattern changed completely superior. I forget what he did with the pistons though. He did something weird with the pistons on the different. I don't know why he didn't stay with the block he had that he was built, but I think he went with lower compression pistons. But the horsepower was up there around 700, 750 against the other heads, pushing close to 578 and 600 and whatever. Clearly, these aluminum heads, if you're looking for horsepower, they would definitely be your money friend. Oh, look at that. You rain all you want. I'm inside today. So if you're all knowledgeable about building big block, big cubic inch, how much you got to grind out of the block or whatever to get the rods to clear, whatever they're doing, you chat amongst yourselves. Because I want big cubic inch, I think, and I think my engine behind me will give me enough money to a collector to build the engine I want, or close enough. Because I'm going to put $2,000 in anyway. So $2,000 added to whatever I can sell my antique parts for, I think we can build a pretty decent engine. Other than that, do it with a crate motor. They wanted $12,000 or $15,000 for it, putting out 750 horsepower. She was all aluminum, I do believe. Now that would be a mighty impressive engine for me, but that's not in my budget. Or we get crazy and brave and we build us a Pontiac 455. We sink in friggin' $8,000 into it to get up to about 800 horsepower. Cross our fingers every time we hit the gas. But anyway, that might be another option. But today we're thinking I'd like to drive the biggest cubic inch with my tri-power. Even though I know putting on a throttle body fuel injection will be the most power. bye-bye. And if anybody's got a good sized roller cam that they're not using and lifters that they might want to get rid of for some money that's reasonable, because my wife
Wait.
loves the big cams, the ones that go. She likes those. So I will put one in just because that's the sound that she likes. In a little while, we got to see what I got in here. I know my camshaft's a competition cam. I don't remember. I know it's a 108 center line for that. It doesn't affect my vacuum so much. I know that it's actual, not the advertised, but the actual lift or duration was like, I think 244 with a split duration, which I cannot remember. But what they actually wrote on the box was like I think it was 170 or 180 with the 50 thousandths lifter. However they do that, I don't know. Because the one thing I don't remember how to do, and I'm not even sure if I could do it today, it's the degree the cam in. Because I had a friend help me when I was, let's see, when I build this motor. A friend helped me. I don't know. I must have been 18 and a half or so. I had no understand. Well, I had some understanding, but not enough. Anyway, let's see what we got. The one job I hate. I don't understand why they had to do it. I hate harmonic balancer pullers. Once I get past the harmonic balancer, I'll be happy. The rest of it I don't care about. But I hate taking off harmonic balancers. Don't know why. It ain't no big deal, but I hate it. I don't know how clear her phone is to show you the scratches and the mains. Because look at my glasses.